Let us know what you think, MD, first, followed by your comments to 53131. Now, the ISPCC has kicked off its annual anti-bullying campaign. As part of the programme, the charity has launched a new text service for children who are being bullied. They can text the word bully to 50101 for free advice. Now, some very high-profile stars are supporting this year's campaign, including Westhouse, Marks Feely and Jedward. Caroline, that's a major thing. We talk about bullying here quite a lot on this show, all the time, and what forms it takes. But how important is it to have ambassadors like this, well-known people that children look up to kind of put it in their head that this is not wrong, this is not right, sorry?
I think it's crucial. I mean, there is a reason we specifically went with celebrities for this campaign. We quite fed up. They're the people they look up to. So if you fancy the actor, or the sporting hero, or the pop in particular, that is the age group of the children that have been bullied at the moment, who don't have the tools to deal with and how they're going to deal with it. And I find if the people they idol say stand up to bullying, I'm standing up to bullying, I know what you're going through, if you have issues, contact the ISPCC, text to the bullying number, which is open from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We have also launched the Shield My School campaign, where schools actually can also download how they can self-assess in their own schools, which I think is a big plus. And we have a gentleman that we're working with us all year round. The schools can actually come to him and ask him how they can help and how they can implement different projects. We're not casting aspersion on any of the schools. We're just trying to help because it's a tool to help them. So we have the bullying, we have the Shield, and yes, it's a very high-profile campaign, and that's what helps us get the advertisement out there. It helps people talk about the Shield, which is what we've launched. We are in talks with Facebook at the moment. So it's Facebook, because obviously it's a massive issue online. So we're in talks with them, and hopefully we'll launch an initiative with them in the next couple of months. We are encouraging people to download and take a photograph of the Shield and put it up on their various Facebooks at the moment to show that they are standing up for bullying. As we know, Mark Feely, it started very much with him last year because he was tortured in school. But the problem with bullying now is it just doesn't stop in school. You used to get some sort of reprieve when you left school at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and when you went home, the bullying would stop. But now it continues, because now it's done online and it's done on your phone, and it just doesn't stop. And there's no faces sometimes to the bullying. At least in the schoolyard, you used to know who your bully was and who the schools could tackle. Now you don't have that, because people just go online and they all join in. So people who weren't necessarily bullies suddenly are joining in on this constant. Mary and I were just talking about earlier. I mean, we're not just saying the bullying is wrong. We also have to look at the issue of the child that is bullying, and what is the issues going on with that. If there's issues at home that makes them bully other kids. I mean, sometimes you have the pack mentality. You have issues going on at home and all that. So we in the ISPCC are trying to combat both. The child that's bullying and the child that's being bullied. And I think more and more people have to stand up and say, this is unacceptable. It's not, gone are the days of sweeping it under the carpet. And I think having people like One Direction and Gary Barlow, and the various sporting people who have come on board, and Emily Sandé recently in Little Mix, and the young girl in Little Mix, as we know, was horrendously bullied when she was in the X Factor over her weight, because the other girls were smaller. It was vicious,
ridiculous. And I saw certain newspapers, online newspapers, they'd say she's fat, then she lost some weight, and now she's, after losing too much weight, she must be anorexic. And particularly for a young girl, they can't actually know what's for. You can't win.
She can't win. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the girl, absolutely nothing wrong with her. She has lost weight. I'd say she's lost weight because she's on tour and she's exercising, and her food.
She's beautiful. She's a beautiful
she was
person.
Gorgeous. She's magnificent face and great voice. And I thought actually the attraction for me was she was like most girls, and I thought that's what I thought was a great part when they put that girl band together, because they were put together, weren't they?
And I think they were ordinary girls
and they put together. And I thought that was the great thing. And if she's lost weight, I'd say it's just because, number one, quite often when you hit a certain age, she's working hard and it's come up. But it is that vicious circle that she can't do it, and I think the press do feed into it. They campaign with us on anti-bullying at the same time. A headline runs like that.
That's what I want to ask you about, Mary. When you do see, I mean, every newspaper, every online newspaper, every media organisation in the country, in the world, will say they're anti-bullying, and then some editorial policies fly completely in the face of that. Now, if you're seeing these mainstream media doing that, how can we expect children and young teens to not follow suit?
I know, it's a disgrace, because I mean, being on the X Factor, I remember even the young kids, they'd be on the Twitter and they'd have 100 good things said about them, and that one thing would just be the thing that hit them. And then the paper would pick up on it, and they wouldn't put down the good things. They just focus on that one thing because it sells papers. I don't know why it sells papers, but it does, and it's wrong. And the papers need, you know, people that do these things in the papers need to get on board with all this. They need to stop focusing on the negative things that are being published about young children and all that, you know, bullying, and they need to get behind the likes of Caroline and the ISPCC and stop this crap of putting in, like they say, Mary Bourne. I remember one thing was written about me. Someone turned around and said that Mary Bourne gets €100 a week, £100 a week from the X Factor, and goes out and gorges it on bars of chocolates and packet of crisps, and the papers published this. There wasn't even a bit of truth in it.
And if it was,
now I was an adult, so it didn't bother me, but I laughed at it when I read it. But you look at a young child out there, and they liked me for the mammy figure that I was, and the auntie, and they were looking at that going, oh, big fat cow. And then if I had been anyway stupid on Twitter at the time, I would have been bullied. As an adult, I would have been bullied from young children who read into what they saw.
Because we blame children about this quite a lot, that maybe they don't know any better, they haven't been educated any better, but they don't lick this sort of behaviour off the ground.
Not at all, not at all.
They don't. I mean, it comes from somewhere, Sinead.
Yeah.
It does, and I think Caroline's point is very well made about focusing equally, not equally, but to some extent on the bully as much as the person who is bullied, because a bully won't generally stop at one person. They will bully several people, or as many as they can get away with, or whatever it is that feeds their self-esteem or feels this need in them to do it. So there's something missing in them, or something that they are finding difficult to control. And in the same way that lots of kids who have control issues and you know, maybe deal with it through food, or deal with it through being depressed, or however it manifests itself. There are bullies that are missing something, and the way that they get their kudos back, or their self-esteem, or whatever it is the hell that's going on, is by getting that gratification that comes from empowering, having power over somebody, and there, I don't know that bullies are altogether fussy about who it is, and maybe if victims heard that more often, you know, that it may not be about them as much as fulfilling the bully's need to bully somebody. Target. Exactly. And I think a lot of work has to go in, and I mean, we're all mothers of children, and you know, a lot of work has to go in with equipping your own child about how to deal with other people. So it's not about, you know, being a good victim. It's about how to avoid being the person that looks like a victim in that sense. And I don't mean to be at all unfair about kids who find that extraordinarily difficult to do.
But it's the vulnerable children, it's the people who can't take, it's the people who are soft touch that are often targeted. It's the people that don't have the tools to deal with this anyway.
Yes, and I think as parents, one of the best things we can do for our kids is giving them those tools, if indeed we have them ourselves. And let's not forget there are very many adults being bullied as well. And it may be that they either can't see it, can't spot it, or don't know, they couldn't deal with it themselves, so trying to teach kids to do that.